that you have much more vitality, much more of your own life force energy. Because again, when I was living in that corporate world, I became drained, very drained. So that's what's very important to know, especially with Kundalini Yoga. It's an individualistic experience that the person will be having that takes them on their path. Maybe they don't move to a tropical island like you and I did. Maybe they have another path. And that's what's so beautiful, because it brings you to your divine path. Kundalini Yoga teacher training that I will be doing with another teacher on the island.
Welcome to this new episode, and today I am here with Jewels Athena. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Luca. How are you doing?
Very good indeed. So Jewels Athena is a very powerful Kundalini Yoga teacher and a life transitional coach.
Yes.
Wow. So first question, what is your journey in life up until now?
Prior to arriving to Koh Phangan, I was living in New York City and working for some of the biggest radio and advertising corporations in the world. Have you ever heard of CBS Radio?
Of course, yes.
I was a national director of advertising sales for CBS Radio. And I've worked for many other radio groups, including Clear Channel Radio, XM Satellite Radio. So I had a very intense, lifestyle.
I can imagine. New York is already an intense lifestyle, and then if you work in the corporate world, and particularly in a sort of commercial or sales job, I mean, it's full on, all the time, working all the time.
Working all the time, and then the culture of New York City is you work hard, put in about 70 hours a week in the work week, and then you go out. You're out until, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
And how did this happen? I mean, you always had this drive to have a corporate career, or it's something that you just stumble upon? Or?
I did have the drive to work in the corporate career. I think the American lifestyle, it breeds that kind of that kind of desire. The American dream is to, go out, get a job, make lots of money, maybe have some children, and live that successful life. I mean, you're European. I think the Italians know how to live life a little bit more. I had to learn how to live life and to break away from what is perceived as the American dream.
Yes, I think the art of living is something possibly really fundamental, very important. It's not something that you really teach. I mean, there is a cultural aspect, of course, that brings you the first sort of ideas of what you should be doing in life. Indeed, there's parents' education, there's your peer group, and early life environment is extremely important in the way you're formed. And then I suppose, yes, most people want to live a conventionally successful lifestyle, which means in most parts of the world having a good job and exactly what you said. But then there was a glitch in the matrix, or something happened to you, right?
There was an awakening,
Wow.
an epiphany. What happened was my father became terminally ill with a disease, it's called ALS, and it makes you slowly paralyzed until you lose your ability to move any part of your body, ultimately bringing you to your state of death. And when my father died, I was sitting in my office. I was making a very large salary, a nice 6-figure income, and wearing my Prada and my jewelry. And I thought to myself, okay, if I were to pass on now, what would I be really most proud of what I've accomplished in my life? And I really couldn't think of it. Like, what could I say? I had some designer clothes. I had a very expensive sports car. My soul was lost inside. And watching my father's journey, and my father was so beautiful and so humble, and he touched so many souls, that just gave me a big wake-up call. And that was really what perpetuated my lifestyle change.
And so, I mean, you possibly had a bit of a transitional period where coming from the corporate world, you started seeking something new, or how did you end up in Kundalini Yoga?
Well, Kundalini Yoga came a little bit after. The stresses of my father dying and the stresses of this intense lifestyle, it brought me to a place where I was really on the verge of almost, I guess you would call a nervous breakdown. My world was starting to break apart. So I had to find some solutions in order just to get back to my center. So my first steps were I started to seek meditation and yoga classes. So New York City fortunately had a lot of yoga classes. And I first started taking traditional yoga, Hatha yoga, and working with mindfulness meditation. And then I started to find Reiki and different modalities to help me to find my balance, because at the time, like I said, I was starting to have a nervous breakdown. Also, something that I didn't mention was as I was talking to Western doctors about what was happening to my life, they were feeding me medication. It's very common in America. You have a problem, they give you a Band-Aid, and that Band-Aid's medication. And that medication started to really affect me in a different way. It started to numb me. So I had to find solutions to now awaken this numbness. Now I needed the medication as a crutch. So the yoga was helping to awaken, bring me back into my center, back into my balance. But then another transition. In 2009 in New York City, we had the market crash. So you remember that? I was forced out of my job at that point. I was laid off, and I had just bought my apartment in New York City. So now I have even more stress. Okay, how do I pay for this apartment? And now I don't have a job. Something, my spirit just said, go to India. And I went to India, and I enlisted in a 200-hour yoga training, and really, really started to find myself, and came back into New York City and got another job. That's when I started to work at CBS Radio, and I did that for about a year. But that lifestyle wasn't working for me anymore. But was working for me was that my clients that I was calling on at the ad agencies and the corporate clients, I was bringing them into my yoga classes in the evenings.
Cool.
It's very nice, because in the afternoons, we would be negotiating big deals, and they'd be fighting for the rates with me. No, I want it at this rate. And I would just say, take a deep breath. We're going to get the deal done. However, I have a yoga class on Tuesday nights. Come and join. And they would. And watching the transition, not only in myself, but in them, really made me realize that, wow, this is something. This I want to bring to the world. So I quit my big radio job now and went over to Los Angeles and found Kundalini Yoga and had my really, really big awakening. So it was quite a bit of a transition. It didn't happen overnight. It was about a good 2-3 years of breaking out of that corporate lifestyle into healing and awakening and becoming a life transitions coach.
Wow, okay, it's a very interesting story indeed. It kind of resonates with me, because I was in London in 2008, 2009, and I also had a full-on burnout, so I didn't stop myself before having it, and I was working in finance, and I found yoga as well. So there are similarities here, which is very interesting. And so you moved to Los Angeles. Now you're in Los Angeles. You're qualified as a Kundalini Yoga teacher, and you're just doing classes. Is that right? Or?
Yeah. So when I moved to Los Angeles, I was a Hatha yoga teacher, and oftentimes when you are searching, the proper teacher comes. They say that, the teacher comes when you're ready. And I randomly came into a Kundalini Yoga class, and immediately felt this shift in my body. I don't know if you've ever experienced a Kundalini.
Sure.
Yes, so these changes started to really happen in my body. So I started to take more and more classes, and then the teacher was hosting a Kundalini teacher training. So I took that Kundalini teacher training, and it was interesting because at the time I was almost going back into the matrix. I was engaged to a very beautiful man, but he was very much in the corporate world, in the same business that I was in before. And I saw myself a little bit getting back in there, but as I was taking these Kundalini Yoga classes for the teacher training, shifts were happening in my body so fast that I realized there was no going back for me, that now my duty was to work in that corporate world, but helping people in that world to not burn out. So that they could stay in that environment if that's what they want, or transition out if they want, but to really help. Now I had these tools so that they wouldn't go through what you and I go through, that burnout.
So painful.
Yeah, it really was. Really was. And immediately after the teacher training, I was just taken on a life force energy and moved to Thailand. I took a trip to Thailand and found this island of Koh Phangan and started to bring the teachings here on the island. So I really believe that it was the Kundalini, the life force of the Kundalini, that brought me to this magical island. And now I offer the classes online and here on the island.
That's wonderful. I remember you from like 4 or 5 years ago in Samakaruna.
Yes.
Indeed. You've been here like quite a while, right?
7 years
Wow.
on this island. And I didn't even know really too much about this island before. I feel like literally the universe picked me up and said, this is where you are now.
So let's delve into the Kundalini Yoga practice, because of course I am a yoga lover and I tried many types of yoga. My practice is more of a Satotantric Yin yoga, and also I do Shivananda style Hatha. But I did a journey through the chakras with a teacher here about a couple of years ago, and I done maybe 10 Kundalini Yoga classes with different teachers. And I have to say it's one of the most powerful yoga practice you can experience, because through the breath, the kriyas, just the way that you move the body, you have such a rush of energy coming up, and you feel amazing afterwards. It's very powerful, right?
So Kundalini Yoga, they call it the yoga of awareness because it awakens your consciousness. So let's talk about that consciousness. It is said that when we are born, there's a seed of our infinite potential that's located at the base of our spine.
Yeah.
It's like the seed of life. But that seed lies underneath, way at the bottom. And on top are all of our blocks and our limitations. So what we do with the kriyas is we use pressure, tension, stress, and friction to bust through those blocks. So you're moving through those self-perceived limitations. Some of that, how we get through these blocks are through the kriyas. So what the Kundalini Yoga kriyas use is 5 elements. It uses meditation, mantra, mudras, body movement, and breath work. Okay, so all of this combined together create this vibration in the body that helps to allow that seed of life to grow and to rise up through the higher consciousness. And as it rises up, it breaks you out of the ego that we have been given, because when we're born, we're taught how to live through our parents, through school, through media. And we forget that we are infinite. We are beyond that. We are beyond what we identify ourselves as, whether you identify yourself as a corporate executive, as a dancer, as a mother. We are that, and we are so much more. So the Kundalini energy helps you to realize that you are divine. You are that and everything.
And it is very satisfying to have the experience, the very personal, conscious experience of feeling this energy coming through you. It's wonderful. And sometimes people say, what is energy? What is energy? You know, I mean, energy, scientifically, we have mechanical, we have electrical energy, we have chemical energy. But also there is something in Eastern traditions, particularly, which is called chi or prana, which is a lot more. It's something that maybe in Western terms we can call vitality to a certain extent. In my opinion, more life you have, more vitality, more energy, the more alive you are, the better you feel. So the less energy you have, the low energy person suffers more typically, right? And Kundalini is great because it works with energy, indeed.
Yes, it's the life force energy. It's a very yang type of yoga. So you mentioned yin and Shivananda. That goes inside in a soft way. And Kundalini, the reason why they say that it works so powerfully is that it's a very fast way. It awakens you very quickly, and you will find that you have much more vitality, much more of your own life force energy. Because again, when I was living in that corporate world, I became drained, very drained. And had I had this technology back then, maybe I would not have left the corporate world, because I had a great job. I mean, CBS Radio was fun. I mean, we're in music, it was the media industry, it was New York, but I just did not have the resources. So this type of technology, and it is a technology, they call it a sacred science. And as it works through the glandular system and the endocrine system, it's allowing your body to really work its own resources and regulate its resources, giving you energy if you need it and calming you if you need to be calmed. Because as we know, energy is always moving. It's a cycle, and everything is energy. So this helps you to move your own energy, to regulate your own energy, and to really store it if you need to, and to use it when you need to.
It's wonderful indeed, and Kundalini Yoga is quite different from the other types of asanas, practice, or Raja Yoga, etc. And comes from Yogi Bhajan, who is a gentleman that, passed away, but from the Sikh tradition in India, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yogi Bhajan, Kundalini Yoga precedes Yogi Bhajan. Okay, it's an ancient technology. However, what Yogi Bhajan did was he popularized it. He brought it to the Western world in around 1969. He was a Sikh, so he mixed the Sikh mantras and a little bit of the Sikh tradition into his system of Kundalini Yoga. And that's where the mantras come from. And I do believe that the mantras are very beautiful. They're very powerful. The mantras hold all of the energy that people have chanted along since these mantras were created. So different mantras have different energies towards them. Some may bring healing, some to open up your consciousness, others to help bust you away from fear. So they're very beautiful. It's a very beautiful aspect of it. However, Kundalini Yoga is not a religion. Although it does have a little aspect of the Sikhism in it, it's more of a sacred science.
Yes, and you say it's a powerful technology, and being a modern technology as well, in a way or another, you can have a full-on Kundalini Yoga lifestyle and live like a Kundalini Yoga practitioner every day, dressed in white, etc. Or you can have it as a practice whilst you keep a corporate lifestyle. I mean, it's up to you what you make of it, but the technology is there and is very flexible in a way or another. But I did notice something, that when you start doing yoga seriously and when you start getting the beautiful effect of this ancient practice, you tend to gravitate towards environments that are more sattvic, that are more balanced, that are not so obsessive in a way or another. And then, yeah, I mean, it's for me, when I started doing yoga seriously and meditation, etc., I kind of, left the corporate world. I just couldn't do it anymore. But that doesn't mean that everybody has to do it, so...
No, in fact, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because they also say Kundalini Yoga is the householder's yoga. It is meant for people who are living a normal, let's call it, not maybe a normal life, but a more traditional life. Like, mothers can do it. You don't have to be super flexible. You don't have to do a handstand with it, right? It's designed for the householder, and in 11 minutes you can have a very powerful experience, or you can do a full-on kriya in an hour and a half. So yes, you and I both left the corporate world and a lot of that lifestyle that came along with it. As I was working in the corporate world, I told you I was also going out at night. I was living in New York City, the trendy restaurants, the trendy nightclubs. That doesn't really appeal to me anymore. Now I'm living a more sattvic lifestyle, as you said. However, if people still want to live that kind of lifestyle, this practice will just give you that energy to sustain whatever it is that you're doing and bring you on your path, because everybody does have their own path. So that's what's very important to know, especially with Kundalini Yoga. It's an individualistic experience that the person will be having that takes them on their path. Maybe they don't move to a tropical island like you and I did. Maybe they have another path. And that's what's so beautiful, because it brings you to your divine path.
That's wonderful indeed. Jules, tell us a little bit about your coaching.
I work with people in high-stress lifestyles to help them cultivate a system that brings them more energy and less stress so that they can get more done in less time.
Okay, so the way it works, I mean, somebody's interested in improving, their effectiveness in life, and you just have a consultation with you, a chat, and then there's a program, or how does it work?
Yeah, it first starts with a consultation. So we have a conversation, and we understand what it is that's challenging them. Where are their blocks? What are their challenges? What are their goals? What are they looking to do? And then from that first initial consultation, we have a program, and the program is customized for them. So I'm also a nutritional health coach, certified nutritional health coach, a Reiki master. I work with Akashic guidance. We have the yoga, and so in meditation. So we cultivate a program using all of these elements to help design their transition of where it is that they are looking to be. So it's very customized, uses a lot of the different elements to help bring them into a state of holistic enjoyment, holistic well-being.
Okay, and mostly your clients are back in the US, or they have corporate jobs, or they are like in more conventional lifestyles, or do you work on the island as well for that?
I also work on the island. Yes, I work a lot on the island.
Okay.
On the island, it tends to be on this island, we work a lot with the higher realms, such as like Akashic therapy, Reiki. And my corporate clients, we're doing more belief systems, changing belief systems. So it depends on where the client wants to go. But it's very intuitive as well, because if I start to work with you, our energies are even having a conversation.
Sure.
So your higher self is talking to my higher self, even though I'm physically talking to you. So the programs just start to cultivate themselves. It's usually a 6-month program that I like to work with people on, because in 6 months, you really want to see somebody doing the work and not just jumping on board, getting a little taste, and then they don't get the results. I find it non-effective in that way. Most of my clients that I've had the most effective transitions with, and really like the most powerful, the most powerful transformation are those that have continued to do the work with me for about a 6-month program. But then I have clients that have been with me for years, that every week we work with something new. Whether
That's
it's
wonderful.
their health and their jobs, I help them with creating sales deals or creating programs. So,
why do you like Koh Phangan so much?
I don't think I ever left. I always kept the house here. I always was teaching yoga here. Koh Phangan is a place that it's gentle, it's soft, it's the crystal healing island. I just feel a deep connection with the tribe here. It's just a beautiful space. Currently, I'm teaching Kundalini Yoga on the island. I'm working on a Kundalini Yoga teacher training that I will be doing with another teacher on the island. So I'll be in around February offering a 200-hour Kundalini Yoga teacher training course. I give Reiki courses. I give Akashic guidance, Akashic records. I read the Akashic records. And I teach people how to become Akashic record readers as well.
Can you explain a little bit more about the Akashic record? That could be another whole interview, but
You can. So the Akasha is everything that is. It's beyond time, space, and dimensions. So it is said that the Akashic library is a living library. Everything that was ever created, everything that was ever said, anything that will be created or said is already in the Akasha. So it's a living, breathing library. And we can pull into the Akasha and we can download information, but we can also go into our Akashic records and look at what is in our life or in our past life that might be limiting us or giving us, maybe we're blocked in some way, shape, or form. And it could be that some of our blockages were through past life experiences. Like for instance, a lot of healers in past lives, they had been healers before, but they may have been persecuted as healers.
likely.
Likely, very likely.
Back in the days.
For myself, for sure. And so you can go into the Akashic records and you can change that karma.
And it's fascinating, you know, it can really change your life if you look into it. If you really want to transform yourself a little bit, start looking into determinism and karma. If you're more open to more esoteric knowledge and spiritual knowledge and Eastern knowledge, Akashic records, great, karma, great. Otherwise, you can start with determinism. It's a plain, straight, you know, Western philosophy, and it's pretty much very similar. But then from there, you know, it's like opening a new door. And then you'll end up for sure in Koh Phangan and, you know, having your Akashic records re-edited or looked at for sure. So it's very interesting. When you start transforming, you start seeking, and you move from a position in life where you're more passive and just going with the flow because, you know, you've been conditioned to do what everybody does, you know, getting a job, etc. You move out from there a little bit and you start having a new perspective. It never ends, you know. It's like you get into this lifestyle where you want to seek and learn and seek and learn. Is that you as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I do believe that I've had this in past lives as well. This kind of energy. When I was younger, I was very interested in this kind of lifestyle. I'm a little bit older than many people on the island, and I lived as a child in the 1970s, and it was still like the free love and that kind of vibe going around. So I was learning things like Reiki at a very young age. My auntie was a Reiki master, but then I got into the material world and the matrix world that I like to call it, and I forgot this energy, this kind of a path. And later on through life, though, I remembered that path. So, I think many of us who are on this path, we have lived this kind of lifestyle before. Maybe if you believe in past lives, you lived perhaps as a monk in a past life, perhaps a healer in a past life. So.
Who knows? A sorcerer.
Perhaps.
Okay, well, Jules, thank you very much for this little chat. Very interesting indeed. You know, I love to learn more about you, and but thank you for now.
Thank you so much, Luca. It was a pleasure speaking with you and all of you.